Wow, nice job. You guys are great meditators. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Deeper Dive into the Dharma. I'm Roxy. And for Andy tonight, I feel very honored that he would allow me to be here. So thank you. Y'all are awesome. I was just looking around at you meditating and I was like, yay, this group is just warms my heart. So I'd like to go around and everyone say your name and a short little something nice that's happened to you recently in your life, something positive that you've noticed. I'll go first. So I was walking around the neighborhood and I noticed everyone's got, not everyone, a lot of people have decorations out for Halloween. And they're just so joyful, and it makes me very happy to see everyone expressing themselves through a holiday. So we'll start over here.
I'm Gail. I don't even know what to say. I didn't prepare anything. Wow, I closed my eyes and I opened them and everybody's here.
Yeah. See,
that's fun. I'll take that.
That's a good thing. Thank you.
I'm Jenny, and I started a new job position this year, and I'm finally getting to the point where, like, I feel like I'm knowledgeable and I know what I'm doing, which is always a good feeling.
That's cool. That's really cool. Yeah.
It is.
Me? Okay. I'm Ben, and I think the cat that we took home last Christmas, a calico cat, our first calico cat, and probably our last, but is starting to develop some of the affection that we hoped a cat would have, and calicos don't tend to do as well. So that seems to be starting to happen. Maybe it's the fall air, but it's nice.
I am Lewis. I do like the cold. The cold.
Yeah, the weather.
Little
Awesome.
snappy bed.
Thank you.
I'm Sam, and my neighbor just started making his own garden.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I'm gonna be able to join him and learn from him.
Oh, I love
I
that.
just saw like this morning like a lot of peppers growing. Like, so he came in like he sometimes come in and start planting around my backyard. I'm like, thank you.
I love that.
Nice.
Good.
Yeah.
We'll go over here.
Oh, skipping over here.
Yeah, and then we'll go back.
Right. I'm David. Something that's been nice for me is we were doing the Tuesday night beginners meditations, and my son was coming to those occasionally, and we made a promise to each other that we'd start doing the Tuesday, and we'd continue that training even at home until the next beginners training starts, and he came to me to remind me about continuing the training. So I was really happy about
Awesome.
that. So,
Wow.
big win for me. I was very happy.
Awesome. In the back.
Golly, the end of my day's been so nice.
Who are you?
Very different, Andy. It's like an AA meeting. Hey, Andy. I just guy that was delusional, and my energy was so non-reactive. That was the first thing, totally delusional. Then I had a long conversation with Leah, and y'all know Leah's energy.
Mm-hmm.
And then my wife took cash out of my sock drawer for spending. I was alarmed on how much she took, and I didn't. Internally, I reacted a little bit, but externally, it was like, thank you so much for having the Masons come and fix our stuff.
Aww.
I feel tickled about not being aversive towards my wife. That's a lot, but I'm tickled.
That's a lot.
That's awesome. Now we know where you keep the money.
I'm Mary, and I like the cool weather too. I got to wear a flannel shirt all day yesterday, and a bit of the day yesterday.
I'm Larry, and I have a Sheltie named Ginger, who's very smart, and she can tell time perfectly as we approach dinner time at 6. So I'm in my room, and she'll come up to me about 15 minutes till it starts bumping my leg, and then barking, and okay, all right, and so we have a good friendship. very bonded.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you all for sharing, indulging me. We are continuing with the Eightfold Path tonight. So I don't know if you all are on. We have Discord now. David has been setting us up with a lot of things, but we have Discord now. We have YouTube. There's stuff on the website. There's the talk that Andy did last week with all of us present is now on the website, right?
Yep.
And it sounds so good.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have you listened to it? Did some people listen to it?
I haven't yet. No, okay.
You listened to it? Yeah, wasn't it? It was so well done. I felt like the community that we have built here, like you could feel it, like it was lovely. So check that out if you get a chance. So picking up where Andy left off, we're at right speech, right action, right livelihood. So tonight is livelihood, and we're going to have a lively discussion, hopefully. And as Andy pointed out, these things are all about kindness. Livelihood in particular is ajiva, is the word for it. It means sustenance or support. So it's more than just your career. What sustains you, what supports you, what keeps your life going, those things. It's very integrated. Oh, these notes are from Jill Fronsdale. I wanted to say that. I listened to a talk by him, so that's where this came from. So, so everything is just integrated into the world around us. And money is a big thing in livelihood, right? Like, what is the money that we're dealing with? It's symbolic for value, money is, and it puts a spin, is what he was saying. Like, how you spend your money puts a spin out into the world. And I think it also puts a spin internally as well. So I'll explain more about that. So basically, where does our money go? We have to ask ourselves, what are we supporting? The things that we receive, where did they come from? And are we using them in a dharmic way? And a dharmic way means with justice, okay? So like, is it a just cause? Is it, are we using them that way? So those are the things to think about. And he says that the heart of right living is asking yourself, does this cause harm or bring benefit? So is what I'm doing causing harm or bringing benefit is kind of like our barometer of where we're at. So, living a right livelihood will bring good consequences. So, the Buddha is a consequentialist, basically. He's talking in consequences. So, right livelihood, right consequence. Wrong livelihood, wrong consequence. So, what are the wrong livelihoods? 5, right, that he pointed out for us lay people that are like, stay away from these. And they're all in trading, or trading in these things. So maybe you guys can help me understand exactly. I guess it's like trading means like everything to do with that, everything encompassing it. So the 5 things are trading of weapons, living beings, intoxicants, poison, or meat.
Last one?
Meat.
Meat, okay.
Yeah, so trading in any of those, which, what do you guys think? Is that from like farm to
I think it could be human
table?
trafficking.
It could be human trafficking.
Yeah, I think.
And I think trading means profit there too. So if I'm exchanging something, you said weapons. If I'm profiting from that exchange as well, that's what really makes it bad, because I've put something bad out there, potentially bad out there. A weapon itself, not going to get into that aspect. That's not where I stand. But a weapon itself isn't necessarily a bad thing. But if I profit by giving you a weapon, then I'm trading in something that would be a negative. Yeah. Yeah.
Or at another level, if you're trading anything that produces death,
Yeah.
not just
Oh, that's
an
true.
A-
These all have
an
to do with
AR-15,
death,
it
don't
could be-
they? They all have to do with death, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Huh.
they all have to do with death.
Mhm.
That's a good point too.
Like even when Ben said weapons, I'm thinking about, wow, social media has a lot of weapons.
Oh
yes,
my gosh.
absolutely. Yeah.
Mistruths.
That I hadn't even thought of that. That is weaponized.
Yeah.
Interesting. Which also brings in right speech, you know,
Right.
and
Yeah.
right action.
Yeah.
So they have built up to this right livelihood, kind of. Yeah. So what do you think about like a person working in manufacturing of, say, bullets? Like, is that trading? Are they engaged in a wrong livelihood?
I was talking with a friend who grew up in England, new friend, and she's very much a gun rights advocate and wish the United States would take on um, what the UK has taken on. And she gave some numbers. I don't know how correct her numbers are, but she said 35 people will die in the UK this year of gun violence, and 35,000 will die in the United States from gun violence. If those numbers are right, you know, that's something. But she also said, but you have to keep in mind the UK has a rich, long heritage of sports weaponry and the hunt and so making bullets again per se doesn't have to be a negative thing. It's just how it's ultimately used. You said Buddha was a consequentialist, and so it's all the outcome of the action. You know, so the bullet itself, how it gets used, becomes the real problem. I would think.
I think I don't know. For me, I think it's also the potential for harm, right? And I think that's one of the challenges, right? A gun exists to kill. There is very little other purpose for it. Like as you said, sport. If you're shooting false targets or
Clay,
the clay pigeons,
right? Yep.
sure.
Yeah.
But the intent is to kill.
Yes.
The intent of a bullet is to kill, and while a bullet is present and a gun is present,
Yeah.
the potential for death is present. To me, that's where
Mhm.
the problems come into play, right? You may have the best intentions, but yeah, I think that there's still the problem of even having it or creating it. In general, it is created to destroy, whether that's life or something else.
Right. So,
Yeah.
go ahead.
So if you live in a, I'll just say a small town or a small city, and there's a what's a Glock? I need a gun manufacturer
That's one.
nearby, and your family needs work. So you, because you want to take care of your family, work in the manufacturing of this weapon. You never use them. You've never bought one. You've never hurt anybody with a weapon like that. But you work at the factory because that money you could start a garden or raise your children to be Buddhists or something.
Well, see, maybe it's the spin. Like, okay, you're spending one way by creating the bullets, but then you spend the other way by spending your money that you've earned in a dharmic way.
You don't even know if you created. Did one of your bullets go?
You have no idea, right? That's very true.
I think that'll be my concern, right? Is while you're
don't know.
kind of selfishly thinking about yourself and your family and protecting those around you, you're putting others at danger just by participating in the trade. And to me, I don't know. I'm not saying anything that I think is right there. I have strong opinions about guns and everything along those lines, but, obviously. But yeah, I mean, it's that karmic balance. Whether you believe in karma or not, you're literally putting something out there. Whether like if you created a bullet and that bullet was used to kill somebody, and you found out that a bullet that you created that you could have chosen not to create was used to take the life of somebody else. To me, that's massively consequential. If you think about anything that you do could cause the death of somebody else, and you willfully took part in still doing it, then I think that there's some willful participation in that death at that point.
What about the intent? What about the intent of your
right? One of the biggest challenges, right? If that's your only option and it's the only way that you can feed your family and keep your family safe, like obviously, there's different balances and things that could go on at that point.
What does the Buddha say about living in an imperfect world? Where you have to make very, like you're suggesting,
The Buddha's always taught
you're making very difficult decisions.
that, right, we're on the path, right, and we're taking steps towards doing better. So the person living in the town with only that option, maybe they're looking for another job. If they're on the path, they're looking to live in a dharmic way. So they understand that they really shouldn't be working. I mean, if the Buddha said specifically these 5 things avoid, it seems pretty clear, right? Like we could talk circles around the intent of, but it does seem pretty clear that from our standpoint, from this view that we're, delving into, that probably anything involving weapons, living beings, intoxicants, poisons, or meat
It's very clear.
is the meat one. I think is a hot button. Like you've got people working at Publix that are in the butchers, that are in farmers, and there's, I don't know, people need to eat. So that's a tough one, right? I want to hear some people's opinions.
We have to live in the world.
We have to live in the
And the tough
world.
part, and as Larry's question, alludes to, the Buddha would say we live in an imperfect world. Nothing is perfect. Nothing is permanent. And so, you suggested that Gail's person might be looking for other work. I mean, for right now, this is what I do. Might even be fully aware. I'm making something that's designed to do something else. My intention is not to have anything to do with the trading of this. I'm just making sure my family can eat. Yeah. Might not even be as far as growing a garden, even though that's part of the eating aspect. But I mean, there's some joy in that, not just the eating. Maybe it's just that's what I'm doing. And I don't want to pretend that I know what the Buddha would say to that person, but it seems to me like there's plausibility that that's okay to a point. And but I don't even want to draw where that point is.
Right. I mean, I think it could absolutely be a spectrum of working down the path, and there's plenty of opportunity, but it's not a dichotomy. It's not like you have two choices: either don't eat meat or eat meat. There are paths along the way, and I think so long as you're moving towards it, I think the weaponry thing is such an incredibly challenging one. Even meat. I mean, there's so many people, and again, no offense, I know people in here eat meat and everything too. There's just a willful. There's a portion of it that is just willfully deluding yourself of what you're participating in, right? And it's, you're right, we have to live in a world. That is unfortunately how we have to cope. But there is a strong portion of it that really is, you are dealing with dead carcasses and death and torture and destruction of life in order to make a living. And it's, sorry, I don't mean to.
No, I think it's important because we have to live in a world, but we don't have to live in a real narrow world. We can broaden that out, and our vision can be broader, so we can see other ways to understand how we eat this meat, when we eat this meat, what rituals go along, and take care of it. And
a great example: the Buddha ate meat. He died from eating bad chicken. The important thing for him is it was via handouts. He was using.
He ate what was given.
What was given to him. So there is exactly that. He was doing what he had to do in order to survive, and it wasn't like it was, I'm not going to eat that. It was given to him freely, and so there's obviously some gray area there of flexibility. It's not like somebody offers you something, you just never take it. If you're starving, that's all you've got. Eat it. If you're stuck on an island and there's only animals around you to eat and you're a vegan, would you eat the animals? Yeah, I'd eat the animals because I want to survive. Right? It's a lot of the same kind of arguments of there is no.
Right. It's very nuanced.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Well, most of us don't work in things that are so clear cut as these. Like, we have to think a little further on our careers. Like, am I dealing in any of these things really? Like, like when you start to look at what you're doing, I think some of us in here have reconsidered our careers based on looking into these things.
A lot of that does come with privilege, though, right? I mean, the only reason I reconsidered my career and changed
because you could.
Because I could.
Yeah.
Truthfully.
That's very true.
Yeah.
It can spin way out of control. You can become very successful and have lots of investments, and those investments could be, paying for a war and.
Right.
Yeah.
Or you can change your portfolio for eco-positive and remove.
Not in Florida these days.
No, I'm saying if you're involved in investments.
Yeah, but in the state of
and you can go to your broker and say, no, I don't want anything that has anything to do with weapons or or anything like that.
Mhm.
You can.
Mhm.
That's
It's not a
it.
perfect
The
world
the
here.
discernment.
returns though.
Oh, no. I can tell.
And the electric car returns.
No, it's not. I can tell you that you don't.
You get
from
some good returns.
experience.
Good.
It's not that simple. It depends on the business.
Not that
and-
simple.
Yeah.
I was just kidding.
Huh?
I was just kidding.
So speaking of what the Buddhist says about some of this stuff, I came across 2 readings from Access to Insight. We're just going to do one of them, but I'm going to let you guys decide. Would you prefer to hear about the soldier or the actor? The careers. So they're very similar stories. Like they're kind of repeating. So we just need to. But which one? Acting or being a soldier?
Don't know until it's read.
Let's do acting then. If y'all, acting is fun. So the title of it is Considering a Career in Acting, You May Want to Reconsider. So I'm going to let Ben read this for us. I know, right? You may want to reconsider.
So, am I
Are you going to be able to see
the whole page?
The whole page.
The whole
Isn't
page.
it lovely?
Okay.
It's
This is one of those I put a
because
bookmark
it's a
in
little
and
bit
set it
repetitive.
beside my bed and pick it up tomorrow. Yeah. Okay.
You know how these stories are long.
So reconsider. Then Talaputa, the head of an acting troupe, went to the Blessed One, and on arrival, having bowed down to him, sat to one side. As he was sitting there, he said to the Blessed One, Lord, I have heard that it has been passed down by the ancient teaching lineage of actors that when an actor on the stage, in the midst of a festival, makes people laugh and gives them delight with his imitation of reality, then, with the breakup of the body after death, he is reborn in the company of the laughing divas. What does the Blessed One have to say about that? Enough, Headman. Put that aside. Don't ask me that. A second time. A third time, Talaputa, the head of the acting troupe, said, Lord, I have heard that it has been passed down by the ancient teaching lineage of actors that when an actor on the stage, in the midst of a festival, makes people laugh and gives them delight with his imitation of reality, then with the breakup of the body after death, he is reborn in the company of the laughing divas. What does the Blessed One have to say about that? Apparently, Headman, I haven't been able to get past you by saying, enough, Headman, put that aside. Don't ask me that. So I will simply answer you. Any beings who are not devoid of passion to begin with, who are bound by the bond of passion, focus with even more passion on things inspiring passion, presented by an actor on stage in the midst of a festival. Any beings who are not devoid of aversion to begin with, who are bound by the bond of aversion, focus with even more aversion on things inspiring aversion, presented by an actor on stage in the midst of a festival. Any beings who are not devoid of delusion to begin with, who are bound by the bond of delusion, focus with even more delusion on things inspiring delusion, presented by an actor on stage in the midst of a festival. Thus, the actor, himself intoxicated and heedless, having made others intoxicated and heedless with the breakup of the body, after death, is reborn in what is called the hell of laughter. But if he holds such a view as this, when an actor on the stage, in the midst of a festival, makes people laugh and gives them delight with his imitation of reality, then, with the breakup of the body after death, he is reborn in the company of the laughing divas. That is his wrong view. Now, there are 2 destinations for a person with wrong view, I tell you, either hell or the animal womb. When this was said, Talaputa, the head of an acting troupe, sobbed and burst into tears. The Blessed One then said, That is what I couldn't get past you by saying, enough, Hedman, put that aside, don't ask me. I'm not crying, Lord, because of what the Blessed One said to me, but simply because I have been deceived, cheated, and fooled for a long time by that ancient teaching lineage of actors who said, when an actor on the stage, in the midst of a festival, makes people laugh and gives them delight with his imitation of reality, then, with the breakup of the body, after death, he is reborn in the company of the laughing divas.
See the repetition, huh?
Yeah. Maybe if you're listening to it, but when you're reading it, it's like
It was a spoken lineage thing, right? So they had to repeat it over and over again,
Yeah,
or else
yeah,
people
yeah.
would have forgotten it.
Yeah.
So anyway, sorry.
That's true. That is why. All right. Any comments on that? I find it very interesting that he's pointing to the fact that, okay, the actor is deluded in thinking that they're not leading people who are already in these, you know, states of mind, leading them further into that path of negativity. So that's an interesting spin too.
But he's deluded by the conditioning. It's an ancient tale that he's been told. And we all have these things that we do because we know they're the right things to do, because somebody, and sometimes it's as vague as that, somebody told me, you know, we use that phrase, they said, and then we go out and do this. And the actor is fortunate that the Buddha tolerated his questions for a while and then said, okay, shut up, listen, here it is.
Here.
Yeah,
Let
right.
me spell it out for
You should know better the first time, you know, enough.
Yeah.
You should know better. You should know better. You should know better.
And
Then,
that,
okay,
like, you
listen,
should have gotten
you
to this
don't
on
know
your
better.
own.
Here it is.
Yeah.
And,
Because of this belief, this established belief system, they didn't know better and didn't investigate and
right.
thought that they were right.
The conditioning.
There was conditioning.
So is the core of that message that if the actor was seeking a reward for what they were doing, not simply seeking the path itself? They were seeking.
I have no idea what that
It sounded like they thought they were on a positive path. Like, this is a positive path because I'm making people laugh and smile. But the Buddha's saying, actually, you're leading people into delusion who are already, you know, tend to be deluded. I think. Is that what you guys got?
Yeah, it ends with I'm crying because I was deluded.
Right.
Yes.
What I heard was what I think Ben was pointing to was the attack more on the, like his point of reference was the story told rather than like a direct experiential knowledge of what he knows, right? Like it seemed like it was more a correction of how he was looking at the world.
Yes, that's a good point.
An attack on the acting profession, at least that's what I heard.
Yeah, right.
He seemed to want to know, is this true? This is what I've been told. Maybe he had some skeptical doubt, as Lewis is suggesting. Yeah. Yep.
It's like it has nothing to do with acting.
Right. It's about the experiential portion of it. I love that, because that was a huge part. I love that you can interpret these a million ways, and it's mostly because they're repetitive and slightly obtuse, but it's fun.
They are fun. I heard that. I was like, we need that. Yeah.
What was like you said there were 5 things that we're not supposed to do for like what is acting against in those 5?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. So there are weapons, living beings, intoxicants. Is it intoxicating? Maybe the person on stage is like taking you away somewhere.
Intoxicants are drugs or alcohol, those things that intoxicate you.
Yes.
Not necessarily
It
being
doesn't have to be something
intoxicated.
that you consume. It could be something you're visually consuming.
Yeah, I would say television can be really intoxicating, right?
Yeah.
Great escape. And if I had to guess, that was the exact same reason people were going to the stage. back in this
And now we Netflix and chill and just zone out. It's the same thing. We're being led to delusion when we're already in that state of mind that we don't want to face reality.
Yeah.
We're deluded already.
You can be intoxicated with social media, for
Y'all are
example.
so smart.
Not necessarily drugs per se.
I know. I'm like,
Calm down.
this is amazing.
You know, I never heard the word binging until streaming.
Oh yeah.
Not, with
Yeah.
TV, like they
Oh, well,
binge watch.
eating, but I
Yeah,
never
like
seen
binge
it.
eating.
Social
binge
media?
drinking.
That's a real big thing.
You
Social
spend
media.
8 hours, 9 hours on,
Yeah.
Facebook
Yeah,
or whatever.
people watch YouTube for hours and hours and
Yeah.
just.
So we have to be careful to call the stage the same thing. There's some intoxicating elements about the
It's
stage. You can be carried away,
intoxicating.
but even in their richest festivals, I don't think we can say there was binge theater. So
Good night.
yeah.
They put on every
Right,
every
yeah.
Shakespeare play
I mean,
in a row.
when the sun went down, it was pretty hard to have theater at that time.
Yeah, I feel
And,
like things have
yeah.
gotten a lot easier to consume.
Right. Yeah.
Especially with
Yeah.
the media. We don't have to leave our homes.
But you said weapons and intoxicants and
Living
people.
beings, poisons, and meat.
Okay. Yeah.
So
So
definitely an
specifically,
intoxicant.
what would that be? Yeah, an
People?
intoxicant.
Or
Yeah.
people, living
all-
beings too.
yeah.
Because
Meaning-
it could be, sometimes acting is, negative towards the person on screen, a child that's being, exploited or anything like that. So,
Yeah, the role and the job is specifically to delude people, to offer that escapism. So that, and I think, could be another factor of it as well. Is the actual.
very interesting because people will strive to be an actor. Like,
That is a huge driving thing.
Right?
Yeah.
I think that for me the crux of the matter is the intent of the acting. In this case, it's to make the audience laugh, and also it's at a festival, so it's repeatedly escapism.
Yes.
And I think that comes to the heart of an interesting argument that I've heard about the difference between art and entertainment. Because entertainment is a form of escape; it takes us out of ourselves, whereas art takes us deeper into ourselves.
Wow, I love that. Art versus entertainment. So the point of the festival would be important. What they were celebrating, the
Like
things.
entertainment,
Yeah.
escapism.
So you'd make that connection to the intoxicant part here?
I think so. Yeah, because it's what is an intoxicant? It gives you an altered state of reality,
Right.
And in a sense, light entertainment alters your sense of reality as well.
Yeah.
I like
Well, and also a lot of times, theater, social media, media, also shapes viewpoints and views.
Absolutely.
And so it can definitely lead into delusion there too.
Yeah, we all remember the election, so. I mean, that was different for all of us.
Like the stuff that has come out, like Facebook and Twitter and others. I mean, they are intentionally refeeding only your viewpoint back to you,
Right.
because that's what keeps you connected.
Which is frustrating. They think they're like, here's what you want to see, right? Like,
They don't know. It's not that that's what they want to see. They know that that's how they can get you to engage with their website, and that's how they can get you to see ads.
To click ads and buy things.
Engaged. They have no care about the actual.
You do it.
Yeah.
On my Facebook is all Halloween stuff.
Like, we know you want this. What time is it? Oh, it's 7:38. Yeah. So this stuff is okay, right? It's very profound. It's very personal. Livelihood is very personal, and as Buddha would say, consequential. So it is good to delve in and talk about. Am I living for the welfare of the world? It's kind of a nice place to start. Asking yourself these questions, the welfare of the world, it's a big question. And just to remember that not to be judgmental about yourself or your journey or anyone else. This isn't punitive. It's a way to grow and engage spiritually with yourself and your community. So I just wanted to point those things out. That's all I had for tonight. So we can keep discussing if you'd like. we can read the other story, or we can just go on our happy way. I appreciate all of you being here. I got some great insight. I'm very excited.
I like how you did that. I like how you had a topic.
You liked
gave us
it.
a chance to respond. The reading was good.
Thank you. That's some good
There's a lot
feedback.
a lot of openness to the discussion. You put some things out there, and then
I wanted it to be kind of open. Andy was so quiet.
Yeah. Good place to be. Now, I'll say something.
Yeah.
Just kind of piggybacking on what David said, you know. I know that the development of my practice is such where when I first started practicing, that I was really deluded about this material. And only through a lot of sustained practice and retreats did I find out that I was deluded in this material. So we look at it like you said. We look at it like, oh, that's easy. I got that. Excuse me. You know, this is a deep part of our practice.
Very.
And I think teachers skip over some of this, like the precepts, and I think that's a mistake. Because this is foundational for concentration.
Yeah, for me, the path is life. Like the Eightfold Path.
Especially these ways to live.
It's the way out of suffering.
The
It
ways
is.
to live in the world.
Yeah.
So, you know, you might be fooling yourself if you think this is simplistic.
Layers.
So on that, you know, I think we've all met people that want lessons like this to be dogma, where you tell me what I should do, and I know the rules, and I do it, and I can interpret it however I want to. But they're your rules. You tell me it's patriarchal. What's that noise?
Microwave.
Microwave.
Okay.
It sounds like a microwave. I might be deluded in that.
But these lessons are for us to consider. I call it the greater good. You said benefit of the world or something, but that's a lot to just ponder, and it puts responsibility on us to think about. Like we just did, what if, what about the flip side? I love that. I love that about these teachings. It's that kind of teaching, not like here's what we believe.
Right. Thou shalt not.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's more like, think about it. Agreed.
We've said before in here, and I like the fact that you take those 5 things and they fit today.
Yeah.
And he talked about them 2,500 years ago.
2,500 years ago.
And there's a lot about 2,500 years ago that if somehow we were transported back in time, we'd just be totally lost. Even if we could speak the language, we wouldn't know how to live. I mean, we're so conditioned, And yet those elements of what to avoid
Still stand.
have remained pretty reasonable warning of how to live a life. And that's kind of cool.
Yeah. These things too, a lot of times are weaponized against us to keep us afraid and small, you know, like in politics or in anything, weapons, living beings, you know, they put movies out to scare us, intoxicants, poisons, and meat, but they're all things that 2,500 years ago they were dealing with, you know, like we're just, it's part of our, part of being human.
It's true. It seems like there's this endless way to separate people.
Yeah.
Endless ways, and I mean, just is it ever going to end? I'm not looking for an answer. I'm just.
You said it was endless. Yep. You said it was endless. So.
It ends here. Yeah, it ends with you. You have to decide.
I guess it's in my mind.
No, your mind. You're creating a sense of separation in your mind.
Mine.
And that's where the work is. That's where your work is. By everybody's work.
I mean, to Gail's point, it's part of conditioning right now. Like, turn on your TV and watch through commercials.
Are we always just going to be a small minority, or will it ever be like, hey, the world's getting more?
When it's profitable to be a Buddhist, then we will no longer be a small minority, right? I mean, truthfully, that's I think the risk right now.
There are places where profit isn't the number one thing, so
yeah, I know.
other countries, right?
Right. I think that's the challenge of
So,
what we're facing today.
yeah.
It's very heavily.
Yes, America is very heavily profit driven. So
Yeah, I mean, it could just really be mostly my view, my delusion of seeing things like that.
Yeah,
Andy?
like just a little bit of review, like there were some questions about whether or not this is, wise action or not, it's very important. This is where the sustained practice is important because, you have to ask yourself, my actions are motivated by what? Greed, hatred, or ignorance, right? Or wise view. Wise view is going to be interconnection, right? And then you get honest with yourself is what is the karmic consequence of my action?
Yeah.
And sometimes we want to rationalize that away, or we want to eat it away, or Netflix it away, well, all these things, so we got to be really self-honest with ourselves about, like, what was my motivation and what's the consequence? Lee and I were talking about that today. We both messed up on our precepts, and we said, ouch. Both went, ouch.
Consequence.
Yeah, consequence, right. Yeah.
I think to your point, Andy, earlier of how difficult it is so much easier to just give in. To just not
that's what
follow
we're talking
yourself.
about.
It is just incredibly easy to be.
But the consequence is so much more worse.
So much worse. Yeah.
I'm sorry, to just
She
give
and I
in.
were
What do
talking about how
you
the
mean?
consequence is sustaining.
To give into conditioning.
Just to give into your conditioning, right? I mean, it's it's fed to you constantly.
Oh, instead of questioning.
Instead of questioning.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well,
Okay.
it must be because they keep saying it.
Okay, beautiful people.
For like children don't know. They're told and they assimilate and I was told this.
Yeah.
How are they supposed to figure it out?
Well,
Think of the two children you saw tonight on their scooters, and
While they were alive.
You're right, and their mom on their phone. I mean, there was a great example of just the conditioning there. I mean, they haven't been shown, so they just do whatever, and she's oblivious too.
She was.
Yeah, it kind of speaks to that.
I think kids are such a wonderful example of how conditioning impacts us over time. My two young boys, when we first started taking them to the parks, you could just let them loose and they would go make friends. Doesn't matter who the person is. Hi, my name's Rowan. You want to be my friend? Sure, let's be friends. And then over time, you start seeing the conditioned separation, the you're different, or all of these other factors that come in. So you see this conditioning that builds up and builds up and builds up. So Rune's 9 and he is different and he's, but you see that separation and just trying to break apart and understand.
So is that, psychologist, is that the nature of human growth? That we go through stages of we actually increase our separation. Little baby is finally realizing, oh, I'm not, mom is that person and I'm this person, right? That's a normal progression of human development. So is this separation, this delusion of separation, built into our human development?
The social part.
It actually is. We have to go out in the world and meet our needs.
And compete, we think, for them.
Yeah, meet our needs, right? So it's a setup for separation.
Yeah.
Probably other cultures, though, there's not such an
Other culture, right?
But I have
To me, it's ego, right? It's like that building of the self, the ego,
our culture's a setup.
That's the separation.
Patriarchal dictatorship, whatever, authoritarian, who says, here's how we do it, okay? Like, okay, so all of us, work together. We're not competing with each other because he said we do this. We all work on the farm, whatever it is. It's a different culture.
Yeah.
All dictators maintain control because
fear.
they delude their followers to think that they're better than others.
The followers are together on that. The followers are
There's the
together.
source, that's the total, if you want to call it the original sin,
Like,
that's
it's a
the
good
cause
thing,
of
right?
all conflict. No? What?
No, she was saying, but they're together, right? I'm like, that's
No,
not good.
what-
The followers are together. The followers of the
But,
dictator.
but the
Yes.
cause of all conflict is when a group of us thinks that the other
I
are
agree.
lesser than or subhuman.
I
That's
agree.
what causes all the wars since
the
the
reason it
Buddha and
works
before.
is because they feel like they're a part of a group and that they're better than these
Mhm.
others. That's why it works. But
That's what's
And
caused some
how
of
do
the
we
worst
live in a
atrocities.
society where it's designed to
yeah,
get ahead is to be able to consume or defeat the other
yes,
person to get ahead?
yes. So what we're trying to do is meet everything with loving kindness.
Of course.
Instead,
not
like
being
it's the
And
total
how to live,
fali-
how to live
Yeah,
above
my
that,
view's correct.
how to live above that,
You're
Roxy.
Democratic and I'm a Republican. My view's
No.
correct.
That how we
And
can
I
live
love you for
above
that.
all of that.
It's like unwise view.
Right. You don't have to dislike someone because they have an unwise view. You can still have love in your heart for them.
Because they're wrong, yeah.
It's okay. Yeah. Wrap them up and hug them in their wrongness. Okay, I'm going to end our class because it's already 7:50. So, but we can hang out and talk more. I'm going to ring the bell.
Thank you, Roxy.
Thank you
Thank you,
all.
Roxy.
Thank you
Un
all.
placer,
Good
Raúl.
night.